I woke up at 6:30. I saw this TikTok. The ICC prosecutor literally saying, like, we're arresting Benjamin Netanyahu. Like, we're putting out a fucking arrest warrant for Benjamin Netanyahu. And I thought I was hallucinating. Like, I thought I was dreaming. I thought I dreamt it up. It's an application for a warrant. I know, but still. Like, even the application for a warrant is, like, unimaginable.
The crimes include starvation of civilians as a method of warfare, willfully causing great suffering, serious injury, and intentionally directing attacks against a civilian population, as well as crimes against humanity of extermination and or murder.
Can I just say once again, bald men reign supreme. Bald men on top again. I hate to be that guy, but honestly, bald men strike, and they strike pretty hard. Look at how serious they are, by the way. This goes kind of hard. I have to admit. This goes kind of hard. They're like, very disappointed in the way that Israel has conducted itself. Very disappointing. Bald's not bothered by the tribulations of hairstyles. Giga Haas, more brain power. True.
Prosecutor in The Hague, with what audacity do you dare compare the monsters of Hamas to the soldiers of the IDF, the most moral army in the world? With what audacity do you compare Hamas that murdered, burned, butchered, raped and kidnapped our brothers and sisters, and the IDF soldiers who...
The most moral army in the world! This is anti-Semitism. Saying that our best democracy, the best apartheid anyone has ever seen, is actually an apartheid and bad. God, I love this so much. This is why I suited up and booted up, baby. When the most moral army in the world is raising Gaza in an act of unjustifiable violence, raising Gaza, killing tens of thousands of children and women and elderly and men, civilians, destroying any matter of like civil infrastructure, killing their own hostages, waving white flags directly with gunfire, killing hostages with rocket fire for the crime of being in the vicinity of Palestinians that they want to kill. It's just they were always doing it in a moral way. It takes a high IQ to understand how moral the Israeli army is.
As part of his investigation, Karim Khan visited the sites of the massacres late last year. Today, he's seeking arrest warrants for Hamas's Gaza chief, Yahya Sinwar, the head of its military wing, Mohammed Deif, and its Qatar-based political leader.
I've seen a lot of discourse saying that the ICJ both sides the ruling. I know Hamas said it would welcome and cooperate with the arrest, but don't you think that more Israeli government officials should be held accountable? Smotrich, Ben-Gvir evade culpability? Yes. I mean, I've said this before. In a fully just and even approach to this conflict, yes, a shit ton more Israeli leaders, Israeli soldiers, Israeli generals would be prosecuted. And yes, there certainly would be Al-Qassam brigade commanders and Hamas militants in general and Hamas leadership in general, Islamic Jihad leadership in general, that would also be investigated and prosecuted for the war crimes that they committed. Because the reality is, yes, October 7 was filled to the fucking brim with war crimes. Like that's crazy. The idea that no war crimes occurred on October 7 is ridiculous, okay? It is not something that I believe. It is something that I have openly said time and time again. Now, of course, that is very different from the inception of why this kind of violence occurs, which is if we are being even-headed and being honest and reasonable, you would arrive at the same conclusion that I have arrived at on October 8th, which is that the occupying entity sets the standard of violence, and therefore 75 years of oppression, 75 years of struggle against that oppression is of course always going to inevitably yield very violent retaliation. Here's the thing. The ICC going after Israeli leadership is unimaginable. I cannot think of a single fucking instance in the history of the ICC or the ICJ as well, but certainly in the ICC, where someone who is an active collaborator with the American government, that is getting political cover from the American government, that has ever been prosecuted like this, that has ever had even an application for their arrest warrants, ever. Sure, maybe there might be like a person who did collaborate with the Americans at a certain point that we no longer have use for, that might have an arrest warrant later down the line, but not actively while they are currently engaging in the acts, and certainly not while America is offering open political cover for said acts. a unimaginably huge change of attitude, an unimaginably huge change of global politics, in my opinion. It spells that the American hegemony is in its final stage. This is massively important, in my opinion. And not because, like, I think that Benjamin Netanyahu is going to go to jail or anything. I don't think that, like, Interpol is going to arrest him. They're going to intercept his travel and arrest him alongside, like, Yoav Gallant and, you know, prosecute him and then he's going to go to jail or some shit. I don't believe that at all. I do, however, think that, like I said, the not to be too much of an optics guy, but I do believe that the optics of this situation spells trouble for the American State Department. Like, they have to see the writing on the wall. It will also massively impact Israel's ability to conduct diplomacy if the arrest warrants are issued, as they won't be able to travel to Rome Statute signatory nations. The U.S. isn't a signatory. However, if they are voted out, the next Israeli leadership won't likely be affected. Yeah, this has created, and this is not just me saying this. I'm some random dickhead Twitch streamer. Make no mistake. There are people in the American State Department whose only interest is not like saving Palestinian lives by any means. Like, they don't give a shit about that at all. But whose only interest is the continuation of American empire, who also saw this reality. That if they continue without any restraint whatsoever, giving the go-ahead to Israel, that this would actually shake the standing and the confidence that the international community has in America's control, America's global dominance and America's control. Israeli Foreign Minister Katz asked AIPAC leaders to work with Congress against the ICC decision. See? Open foreign interference in American domestic affairs, American foreign policy. Oh, shit.
Prosecutor.
CNN interviewed him? Oh, my God. Christian Amanpour? What is happening right now? There are decades where nothing happens, and then there are weeks where decades happen. Among 124 countries, Germany is a signatory to the Rome Statute. Would they arrest Bibi? Are they obliged to? Well, that would be awesome. What makes it even funnier is that the bald guy was Israel's choice to be the lead, to be the head prosecutor. America also petitioned for him to be the head prosecutor. I think you're hyping this up too much, unfortunately. Guys, I don't think that Benjamin Netanyahu is going to get fucking arrested. Calm down. I've never said that I personally believe that Benjamin Netanyahu is going to get fucking packed up, or Yoav Gallant. I'm simply stating that this is a change of pace, at least for the time being, a major change of pace from the way that international organs of justice have operated as an arm of American imperialism. The fact that they are even petitioning to start the arrest warrant process, the fact that they're even applying for it, is unironically a major shift. The reason why, when the ICC put out an arrest warrant for Vladimir Putin due to war crimes in Bucha specifically, and also his unjustifiable invasion of Ukraine, the reason why we did not, like, I didn't think of it as anything super significant, was because he is already outside of the sphere of influence of America. He is already a foreign adversary. That was a correct decision from the ICC, mind you, but that doesn't really matter. That is inconsequential, because that is just the court operating alongside American interests. This is perhaps one of the first instances where the court is operating against American interests. That's why I always say sanctions often don't work against foreign adversaries, but do work against our allies, because our allies do not suspect it. They do not craft their entire economy and the entire mode of existence around potentially getting sanctioned by the United States of America in the way that, like, countries outside of the sphere of influence of the United States and the Western world do.
So does this mean that if an arrest warrant is granted, any country that is a signatory to the ICC would have an obligation to arrest Netanyahu if he sets foot in their country?
Absolutely, yes. It's very clearly what it means.
So this could massively restrict his ability to act as an international leader? It
could and it should, yes.
Can't stress enough that this is just the application. It could take months for the court to decide. However, oh my God, will I be the happiest lad in the land if Bibi and Sarah Netanyahu will no longer be able to go to their retirement vacations in Europe. One of Bibi's corruption cases has to do with bribery via hundreds and hundreds of expensive champagne bottles, and now he may have to drink all of them alone in his basement instead of abroad. Yeah, this is an application. It could get denied still. I will talk about, like, the worst outcomes and the best outcomes in a little bit. I'm just giving you guys more background. Okay, we're going to get there. Hold on. Why doesn't your title also point out the ICC is also pursuing Hamas? Because that's not a very interesting part of this conversation. Hamas is already considered a terror organization. The International Criminal Court pursuing a terror organization that is outside of American interests, outside of the American sphere of influence, is not unique, is not news. Dog bites man is not news. Man bites dog, that's fucking news. Why isn't the United States a member of the ICC or the Rome Statute? Because we do war crimes a lot. And we also literally have it in our law. We have it within our legal framework to actually invade Netherlands if they ever do choose to prosecute us. You know, you already have a bunch of psychopathic American congresspersons already threatening the International Criminal Court. Yet another day of America bad with Hassan. We are surely having a real hard time shaking off the narrative that we are the bad guys. America doesn't recognize the International Criminal Court, but the court sure as hell will recognize what happens when you target our allies. What's the difference between ICC and ICJ? ICC prosecutes people for war crimes. ICJ is an international court of justice where states can prosecute other states.
In relation to this current stage of investigations, the charges that we've put forward to the judges do not include genocide, but we are continuing to investigate. It's a very complex situation. We've not been allowed access into Gaza by the Israeli authorities. We're also continuing our investigations in relation to the Hamas attacks, and if and when the evidence points us in a particular direction, we will not hesitate to act. So it's still an active investigation, but yes, today we haven't.
What is extermination?
It's mass killing.
Different than genocide?
Yes. Genocide is defined by specific intent, not only killing, but an intention to destroy the group in whole or in part. So it's a specific intent to destroy the group in whole or in part. So we have not included in our application today.
And we're discourse for genocide? Bro, he's a lawyer. This is the only fucking part. He's a prosecutor. The only part in which like the semantics bullshit actually plays a role is that there is no current real decision. We all know that what Israel is doing is genocidal, but the ICJ court process has not moved along to come to that conclusion. As a prosecutor, he can't come across as partial in this process. If he were to fucking chirp like you or I and be like, what Israel is doing is genocide, and we're gonna fucking take these genocidal monster fascists to court and we're gonna take them down, then yeah, everyone would be like, the fuck are you saying? They have to play this song and dance. It's kind of funny to get mad at him in this circumstance when he's like engaging in legalese. Like his actions are what you need to focus on rather than the way he is conducting himself. His actions are very much against American interests in this circumstance, and that's precisely why, as we will get to inevitably after this conversation is over, everyone is losing their fucking minds, bro. You have Matt Miller clashing with the reporters as he smears the ICC investigation. You have the moderate perspective from Israel, Caroline Glick, senior contributing editor at JNS. The ICC is a neo-Nazi institution. Lindsey Graham wrote an entire Quran worth of fucking text in here, being like, we have to literally fight against the ICC no matter what the cost. If these decisions were not significant and definitely different than the way that these processes have operated in the past, you wouldn't hear Representative Brian Mast, who doesn't have a leg to stand on this issue, okay, chirp like he is going to invade the Netherlands himself personally. He's going to drop in there with a child's parachute because he's much lighter than the average adult. And for the record, of course, everyone in Israel, including the fucking liberals, are acting like this is unconscionable. The ICC arrest warrants are complete moral failure. We cannot accept the outrageous comparison between Netanyahu and Sinwar, between the leaders of Israel and the leaders of Hamas. Yeah, we can't make that comparison because the leaders of Israel are worse. That's just the truth of the matter. And for many in the world, they see this reality. Of course, good luck trying to explain this to a singular Zionist, no matter what their fucking background is. Wait, I'm not from America? Can America just like invade the Netherlands? Is it a joke? This is my favorite part of the broadcast. For the past 10 years, whenever people talk about how America is not bad at all, what the fuck are you talking about? I almost always bring up this wonderful factoid that yes, in 2002, we passed a law in our Congress that says that if America or any of its allies, any active service members, any American citizen whatsoever is ever prosecuted by the International Criminal Court and is extradited, we will invade The Hague. It is colloquially known as the Invade the Hague Act, also known as the American Service Members Protection Act. It's a United States federal law described as a bill to protect United States military personnel and other elected and appointed officials of the United States government against criminal prosecution by an international criminal court to which the United States is not a party. The text of the act has been codified as subchapter 2, chapter 81, blah, 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 blah. The act gives the president power to use all means necessary and appropriate to bring about the release of any U.S. or allied personnel being detained or imprisoned by, on behalf of, or at the request of the International Criminal Court. Why would we do that in 2002? What a significant year. The International Criminal Court has no jurisdiction in Israel. My man popping off like Bryan Singer, dude. Tom Cotton popping off like he's about to be indicted on sex crimes against minors. There's no International Criminal Court jurisdiction in Israel, okay? That's why I'm traveling there. I'll have you know, there's no extradition policy to the United States either. The problem here is the worst case scenario, which I haven't even gotten to yet, is when the courts deny the application for a warrant for the Israeli leadership and claim that there isn't enough ample evidence for war crimes. And then they only follow through on the Palestinian warrant applications. That is the scary part of this. Now, I don't think it'll happen, but that is definitely something that I am legitimately worried about. If the judges turn around and say there's no ample evidence for Israeli war crimes, is basically giving Israel further permission, while simultaneously turning around and being but there's an incredible amount of evidence for the Hamas war crimes, and then they follow through on only prosecuting the Hamas leadership. That would be a major blow to the, I guess, credibility of the courts. But that is what I'm afraid of.
And of course, I've had some elected leaders speak to me and be very blunt. This court is built for Africa and for thugs like Putin, was what one senior leader told me. We don't do it like that.
It's bro, you're not supposed to fucking prosecute white people in the West. Excuse me. What do you think you're doing? Bro, they admitted it. Yeah, I know. That's my favorite part about things moving in this direction, is the brutal honesty that you hear from the supposed defenders of the rule-based international order. As I have said before, that just means we make the rules and we give the orders, right? Here's Mike Johnson, House Speaker Mike Johnson, condemning the top prosecutor for the ICC, seeking arrest warrants for Netanyahu and Gallant. If the ICC is allowed to threaten Israeli leaders, ours could be next. Here is a beautiful, beautiful bipartisanship moment. Democratic leader Chuck Schumer calls it profoundly unfair and reprehensible for the ICC prosecutor to issue warrants for Israeli leaders who have led the killing of 35,000 plus people and displacement of 2 million while killing more hostages than they've saved. Little column A, little column B for you guys, okay? The ICC is incinerating its credibility, says Ted Cruz. It is disgracefully equating our democratic Israeli allies with genocidal terrorists and, in the process, far exceeding its authority, thus setting itself up to target Americans next. The U.S. cannot stand by while any of this happens. It is time for the ICC to face catastrophic consequences and sanctions. Pretty funny that these guys are chirping because the ICC is finally doing its job that extends outside of its prior boundaries of just operating alongside American interests. Here's Ben Shapiro. I'm tempted to say who gives a shit about the ICC, mainly because no one with half a brain should give a shit about the ICC. But some apparently do because, oh wow, the magical morality of checks notes is European bureaucrats. So let me explain. This is an institution that doesn't include the US, Russia, India, China, Indonesia, Turkey, among others. It has attempted to investigate American soldiers for doing their jobs in Afghanistan. It's trash. Those ICC bureaucrats have the gall to think Israeli war criminals should be treated the same as all other war criminals. If only they were enlightened like you, they'd understand that Israel is above the law and above accountability for their atrocities. Yep. Just following orders from Ben. Doing their jobs in Afghanistan. Yeah, their jobs. What's that phrase again? You shouldn't be scared if you haven't done anything wrong. Yeah. There is a multifaceted line of attack coming from all of the liberals and all of the reactionary conservatives. Just, something to pay attention to. The beautiful bipartisanship that they've been able to arrive at. Isn't that great? This part is great. The State Department spokesperson warns ICC will arrest warrants will jeopardize ceasefire negotiations, which is a threat, by the way. That's all that is.
There should be no equivalence between Israel and Hamas. Hamas is a brutal terrorist organization that carried out the worst massacre of Jews since the Holocaust and is still holding dozens of innocent people hostage.
You're right. There can't be an equivalence between Israel and Hamas. Israel has done much worse shit than Hamas. So I guess technically they're right. This isn't to say that Hamas hasn't done horrible shit. It's just that Israel's done way worse shit.
The ICC was established by its state parties as a court of limited jurisdiction. These limits are rooted in principles of complementarity, which do not appear to have been applied here, amid the prosecutor's rush to seek these arrest warrants, rather than allowing the Israeli legal system a full and timely opportunity to proceed.
We're just not letting Israel deal with it on its own, dude. They're a democracy. Why won't we let the Israeli courts take this up? We just conducted a report on whether Israel was violating international human rights with our weapons. And in that bullshit investigation, we said Israel might be violating international human rights, but we need to give them time to figure it out on their own first. It's always just we need time. Right now, time is of the essence. There ain't no time. There's no time left. Israel is still doing the fucking genocide. The fuck do you mean? Give him time, dude. Give it time. Let him cook. They're going to find themselves in violation, I promise.